Good evening, everyone. I request everyone present here to turn on your cameras. We'll be starting in just a few minutes.
Yeah, Hishita? Hirshita, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, sir, if you allow, shall we start?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So, respected dignitary and dear aspirants, a very good evening to everyone present here. It is my privilege today to welcome a senior civil servant whose career reflects decades of experience, leadership, and deep understanding of governance. I extend a warm and respectful welcome to IAS Ajay Jain, sir, a distinguished officer of the 1991 batch of Indian Administrative Service. Sir is currently serving as the Special Chief Secretary to the Government Housing Department, Government of Andhra Pradesh. Dear aspirants, we often study policies from textbooks, reports, and government documents. But the real challenges begin when a policy moves from paper to people. This is where Sir's journey becomes especially relevant to today's topic, that is, policy versus ground reality, why implementation decides everything. Sir has seen firsthand how administrative decisions affect lives on the ground. And I would request the audience to be interactive and ask questions. Don't miss this opportunity. And now, with great respect and admiration, I invite Sir to kindly take the stage and enlighten us with your vast experience. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Hirshita. Basically, I'll be speaking for about, say, half an hour or 40 minutes. And then another 20 minutes we can have for Q&A, right?
Okay, sir. Sure.
Yeah. So, thank you. First of all, I would like to welcome all the participants who have joined. I hope they are all preparing for the civil services, right?
Yes, sir.
And I mean, different stages. Some of them have cleared the prelims. Some of them are appearing for
Uh,
interviews. Some
no, sir.
like that.
Actually, we all are college students. Some of us are first years, second years, third years, and some of us are
Oh,
graduates. So it's a mix of this
so
young.
so early. I mean, they are planning to take civil service as
Yes,
an
sir.
option, huh?
Yes.
They're still in first year, second year. But it's, I mean, too early. But anyway, yeah, yeah. Good. So, uh, welcome everybody. As Rishita introduced, I am Ajay Jain. I originally belong to Uttar Pradesh, Meerut, but then I was allotted to Andhra Pradesh cadre. So it has been a long journey of almost 35 years now. So I have worked in various capacities in the district. As you know, we start our. Am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, as you know, we all start our career as subdivisional magistrates. Then we work in the districts as ADMs or project officer ITDAs or project director DRDAs or some municipal commissioners, different. Then we move to the districts as collectors or the DMs. Then we come to the state as head of the department. Then we become secretaries. Then we move to the center as joint secretaries and all. And some of us work as secretaries to Government of India also, or as special chief secretaries or chief secretaries in the state. Well, as you know, so we have seen, I mean, right, we have been involved in the implementation of the policy, particularly at the district level, at the subdivision levels also, and also at the as the heads of departments handling various departments. So we are in charge for implementation and also for policy making when we had the secretariat. Now, as of now, I am handling three, four subjects like housing in the state of Andhra Pradesh, tourism and culture, youth and sports. And then, of course, I have worked as a district magistrate of Hyderabad district, Rangareddy district, which is adjoining Hyderabad, and then also one of the other district. And then I have vast experience in power sector. Basically, I was there for 13 years, both in generation company, transmission company, then energy secretary, and also infrastructure and housing and tourism. So this is just a brief. Now, when we come to the topic of the day, policy versus ground reality, why implementation decides everything. I think very right topic has been chosen. I will mention the topic and I would like to give the real life examples of what we have seen. I will give you three examples of how the policies were very good, but because of implementation, ultimately we ended up, literally a disaster and very bad results. And I'll also give three examples of where the policies were very, very successful and they resulted in giving a large benefits to the segment, to the target population whom the policy was designed for. So with these three examples, I think you can appreciate well. Well, there is no hard and fast rule when we design a policy that it would be successful. But of course, much depends on how the policy is formulated. As you know, most of the policies are formulated at the state level or at the central level in the state secretariats or in the central secretariat buildings. But then we when we formulate policies, much depends on how we really interact with the stakeholders. Do we take the inputs of the field level functionaries or not? Various stakeholders who are going to be affected by the policy. Then, when I mean the stakeholders, I mean the beneficiaries for whom the policy is designed, definitely them. Then, the people who are going to implement it, basically the government staff, right up to the village level or to the block level or to the district level, because they are the people who know the actual difficulties which could arise in implementation. And also, the public representatives, be it the public representatives at the village level or block level or district level or MLAs and MPs, but other stakeholders are the people who would like to sabotage the program or benefit from the program. Like if you are coming out with a policy for some infrastructure, there would be some contractors. If you're coming out with the energy policy, there would be the players in this field. So, or obviously, contractors would be there, middlemen would be there. We have to take that factor also into account while designing the policy because they are the people who would like to sabotage the policy or take it in the wrong manner. Now, when having said so, I will now come to the real life examples of three policies. I think you would find it interesting. I mean, wherein we designed policies with a very, very good objective, but then ultimately the end result was totally different. It ended up as a total failure. and then government was forced to go for a rethink on the policy, redesign of the policy. That's why in most of the policies we keep a provision of midterm review of the policy, because see, the things keep on changing, and then we have to change the policy also according to what are the results we see while implementing it. Now, first policy which I would say, where I've seen personally, I handled it also. My request would be not to quote me, because being in the government, we really cannot criticize the government. But then it is just an experience of this, and it is not that it was designed with a bad intention. It was designed with a very, very noble objective, but while implementing it, it went totally wrong in some of the areas. This was, I'm talking about the fee reimbursement scheme. Fee reimbursement policy was there. You're all students, you know. So in combined Andhra Pradesh and also in many other states also it happened. So a policy was taken ki, I mean, we all know ki, I mean, students from the weaker sections of the society, economically weaker sections, or maybe socially backward classes, the reserved categories, the SC, STs, BCs we have, and also the EWS sections of the society. So these students, they are unable to afford quality education. Particularly when we talk about quality education, it is in the field of medicine or in the field of engineering, technical education or higher education. So because of the very because government colleges are limited, we know, like IITs or your NITs and all engineering, government engineering colleges are limited. Similarly, medical colleges are limited. So people have to go for private engineering colleges or private medical colleges. So many of these people, they cannot afford it. So the government came up with a scheme of fee reimbursement. So what the government decided was that by every student, irrespective of his or her caste or economic status and all, should have an opportunity to study in the best of the colleges, be what the fee may be. So having said so, which was a very good objective. I mean, the objective is, the policy objective is very good. Everybody should have quality education. So government said for higher education, post metric, we will reimburse 100% fees of the students to those colleges. So basically, it means what? It means like A is a student. So he or she passes out after 10th class or 12th class, secures admission in a very good engineering college. Now the engineering college is very good, therefore the fees is also very high. Say it is about 1 lakh per annum. I'm talking about those days. Now it must be much more. I mean, so this scheme was there in 2005-6. I'm talking about that time. And then continued up to 2012-13 also. So it was introduced. So he said, so suppose I'm just a example. So they say 1 lakh rupees is the fees per annum. So government said fine. So you secure admission. Admission is of course governed by the rules of the government. There's a common entrance test. I mean, for IITs, there's JEE. For others, when state level different exams are there. Therefore, you secure admission on your merit and then take admission to the best of the colleges. And suppose the college fee is 1 lakh, then based on your economic status, government would reimburse entire 1 lakh to the college. That means student did not have to pay anything. So, I mean, very good. The scheme is obviously very good. I mean, anybody can have access to education, quality education, not only in government, also in private colleges. An entire fee would be reimbursed. So this scheme was announced. And this applied to all, but of course, I will be talking more in that particular field where it was misutilized or misused. So this happened in engineering colleges. So they said we would reimburse the entire fees, and now you can secure admissions. So in the first year or so, people secured admission and all, and then their fees was reimbursed because it was a poll promise and it became very popular. Politically, it gave very good points to the ruling party then. Then they said, fine enough. So fees started reimbursing, budget was provided, money was released in time. So having said so, so far so good. So in the first year, okay. Then what happened? Then people came up with this idea. Ki, look, now government is reimbursing the entire fees. So it's a very good opportunity to start engineering colleges. Because say, if we start engineering college otherwise, requires lot of investment, lot of this thing is there, and one is not sure about the admissions, because colleges and universities, which we know over a period of time they gain recognition, good faculty comes, then only the name of college comes. We talk about Ivy League, we talk about Oxford or Cambridge. It has not Harvard. It has not happened in a day. It has come over a period of time. Similarly, in India, we have the IITs, or we have the DU, or we have the JNU. So they are there since so many years. That's why they have gained that importance. So engineering colleges and all new people. So they said, now it is the right time. Why don't we start the engineering colleges? And as you know, all the engineering colleges, so I mean, all the MLAs and all, they also got brilliant idea. All the people who are having money, the contractors and all the real estate people, they said this is the best field to invest. So overnight, I think within 2 or 3 years, almost 3 to 400 engineering colleges, they started. They said because fee reimbursement scheme is there. So they started this engineering colleges, obtained the approval, and then constructed the building. So till such time, okay, but then ultimately it depends on the faculty, So faculty was very scarce. Faculty obviously cannot come immediately. There are strict norms for faculty and all. Then they said because the fee reimbursement is there, because certain norms are there. So they started manipulating the norms. They recruited faculty, like one person started 5 engineering colleges, and then they recruited faculty for only one college, and same faculty was shown in 5 different colleges. The names were put and all. And at the time of inspection, at the time IT was also not that strong. We did not have this Aadhaar based accounts and all in early 2004, 2005. So, I mean, there was no real checking, only the physical registers were there. So, same faculty was shown in 4 or 5 places. And whenever the inspection team used to come, so the faculty used to move in the bus. Like, I mean, if they're coming for inspecting X college, faculty would be there. And before the team could move to the second college, same person would move there, show that the faculty is there. And then fix fees. So then it was being reimbursed by the government. So now they have to attract students, because the fees you would get is proportionate to the number of students who gain admission in the colleges. So then there was competition. So all this overnight, almost in 2 3 years, almost 300 colleges mushroomed across the state. Colleges came up with no proper faculty, no proper infrastructure, no proper lab equipment. Their aim was just one, to take money of the fee reimbursement schemes. So of course, students have to come. So then they employed agents. Agents went to the villages and all, and asked students to opt for engineering, because why I'm saying engineering is engineering fees was much more. So the fee fixed for engineering college is much more than what we have a regular for a arts college or for a science college or a commerce college. So most of them opened the engineering colleges. Fees at that time itself, what was fixed was almost 35,000 rupees, 60,000 rupees, depending on the different areas and the grades. So they said it is a very good opportunity, and each branch used to have about 60 students. So they would open 6 branches: mechanical, chemical, computer science. So almost more than 300 students. 300 students into 50,000. That translates into so much money per year, and with actually literally no expenditure. Because same faculty was for 4 5. Only the building used to be constructed. So then they said this was constructed, so students have to come. So there started earlier, the students used to choose colleges because of the merit and all. And the exam was also very, very lenient, in the sense that anybody who has just obtained the pass marks, he could gain an admission, because number of colleges became more, students were less. So whosoever passed. So they started employing the agents. The agents went to the villages, schools and colleges. They went, schools basically, 10th class, 11th class, 12th class. And they started almost luring the students and their parents with offers. In some places, mobile phones were offered. Some places, even mopeds were offered to the students to opt for their colleges. So that's how they could ask students to come to their colleges. So once the students came, so some money was given to them. Now, these students literally had no aptitude for engineering. They have no knowledge. They do not have the, required physical mental aptitude to do engineering also. But because this money was being offered, they chose engineering. And parents also say, okay, my son or daughter is studying engineering. And the colleges also, there is almost no faculty. There are no lab equipments and all. So entire thing became a farce, in short. and then how they were promoted again through, various malpractices took place. They were promoted. Then they used to manage the faculty and all, and somehow see that they pass. Whether they pass or they do not pass, every year they were claiming this fee reimbursement benefit. So in this, thousands of crores of government money was spent, and ultimate result was it was only a benefit to the engineering colleges, those middlemen, and then students, those who obtained engineering degree also, many of them failed. Those who obtained engineering degree also, they could not get any jobs because they hardly knew anything about engineering. But because of this fee reimbursement scheme, this went wrong. Now you just pause and think over, what was the policy and what was the end result? So policy was to help genuine students with fee reimbursement so that they can pursue, they can opt. But what ended up was wasting crores of, thousands of crores of government money into, which going into the hands of the private colleges, and with no quality output at all. So this shows that policy was very good, but in the implementation, because there were some vested interest groups, and this government had never thought, there was no ceiling put on what are the types of colleges which would be eligible for that, who would be eligible. Because government also probably at the time of designing the policy never thought that somebody could interpret this policy in this manner, a fee reimbursement scheme turning into establishment of colleges. Then government took up a midterm review, inspection was ordered, fee reimbursement was stopped. Then ultimately more than 50% of the colleges closed down. They closed down, but this money had gone waste and ultimately no result. So this clearly shows how a good intended policy can also be a failure provided it is not implemented properly. So I think you would get some insight. This may not be available in the textbook and all, but this is the practical example of how a policy failed. Now another example I would give of a policy, very good policy, but again failed. That is, we had a policy of housing for all. Government has a policy, even central government has, the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana is there, state governments have their own housing schemes. So the policy is that every poor person should have a house. So very noble objective. It is very good. Everybody should have a roof over his or her head. So we announced the policy, house, the unit cost was fixed. But the problem came in urban areas. In urban areas, as you know, people come from the villages, they come from the interiors, they stay here in rented house, so they do not have a house site. Basically, the land on which house has to be constructed. So the government said, okay, because going for multi-storied housing and all costs a lot of money. So they said, we will give you individual house sites. Every person will be given 150 square yards, 100 to 150 square yards. Land will be acquired by the government. We will give you house site and we will allot you money, 2 lakhs rupees for construction of the house. You will construct the houses and then entire infrastructure will be provided. So it is very fine. Policy is very good. Housing for all, every poor person should have a house. So accordingly, policy was designed, who is eligible, income criteria was fixed and all. And then they said house sites have to be given. So far, so good. So now in the towns, now house lands have to be acquired. So the permission was given to the district collectors to identify wherever government lands were available, you give in the government lands. But as we all know, in the big cities and all, government land is rarely available. So they said, okay, private land acquisition has to be done. So government said, we will acquire private land near the big towns, and in that we will make the layouts just like private developers do. And 100, 150 square yards plots will be made, and then we will give you money for construction of the house. So this was the policy, perfect. Beneficiaries were identified. That was also okay. And then, but then problem came when the land has to be acquired. Now, here the problem came. So the moment they said, then some budget was announced, huge budget. It was about 10,000 crores for land acquisition. Here the policy failed, that middleman came into picture. So they said, okay, now land is being acquired. So now the point is whose land has to be acquired. Now, near the town, so there it is not a tender process in land acquisition. So it is now whosoever is willing to give the land for land acquisition, and in such cases, land acquisition happens by consent. So basically, because compulsory land acquisition happens in case of road and highways where we have to acquire particular piece of land. In this, because any piece of land can be acquired around the town, so it happens by consent. So they said this is a, so some of the MLAs and again middlemen and all, they got a brilliant idea. Ki, okay, now we can make some money in this and we can see that the land is being acquired by the government. So in some of the districts, I would not say it happened in all the places, but in many of the places. So what happened now? Ideally, what should have happened? A place, the land which should have been acquired should have been a good piece of land, and the beneficiaries who were being given the house sites there should have been consulted, and with their consent, the land should have been taken. But in reality, in while implementation, they were not consulted at all. Then it was the local public representatives, some middlemen who have some tie-up with the local tehsildars or the subdivisional magistrate and all. So they chose piece of land which is of their relative or some middleman or where money changed hands and all. So ultimately we ended up acquiring some of the lands which were really very bad. They were very, very far away from the towns. Some were like 40 kilometers, 50 kilometers away. Some of them had no approach roads, no access roads. And the worst was in some of the cases, land which was acquired was a very low lying land. So because if it was a prime land, I mean, a private developer would have taken. Now I have some land in some area about say 30 kilometers or 40 kilometers from a city, and which is not very fit for agriculture also, and which is a very low lying land. Lot of money is required for filling, and also no private developer would take. I do not have a value of this. So here now those people came and make the local people to identify that land for land acquisition. And then, in land acquisition, the consent, we pay 2.5 times of the value. So like if the value is say, suppose 1 lakh, so government can go up to 2.5 lakhs per acre for that. So in this way, thousands of acres of land were acquired. Some of them were good. I mean, as I said, because our topic is policy versus implementation, wherever the district magistrates and all, they took their personal interest, they went and saw wherever the public representatives were good, generally concerned, there it happened as per the policy. But where implementation was not there, they identified such lands, and in those lands were acquired, money was paid to them. And now we ask the people, okay, now this land has been acquired, some plotting was done, and we ask them to construct the houses. Now, see, if a land is 40 kilometers away from the workplace of the beneficiary and there is no approach road, land is very low lying. So then they said we cannot construct because the land is low lying, we cannot make this investment. Again, government then put in some another 1,000, 2,000 crores for land leveling. Land was leveled, some roads were laid and all. So that money was overall spent. Then afterwards, when it was made, then of course the beneficiary you can imagine. So he's working in the town. Suppose he's working in Kanpur or he's working in, say, suppose Prayagraj or some Gorakhpur or some other city. Now 40 kilometers away where there is no approach road, there is no access road, there are no buses. How can we expect people to go and construct the house there? And one or two who completed the house there also, because it was so far away and the infrastructure, the roads and water was not there. Ultimately, what happened? Many of these colonies, they became ghost towns, basically. So having spent thousands of crores for land acquisition, having spent some another 1,000, 2,000 crores for land development, some other money for providing infrastructure, electricity and water. Some of these colonies, I would not say all, some were really good, but because we're talking about policy versus implementation, same policy, in some areas, beautiful results. Land was really good, colonies came up, people are really happy, shelter has been provided, they have constructed their houses, objective fulfilled. But wherever implementation was bad, so now we have a situation where money has gone, but these houses have not been constructed. The house sites are lying as it is. Wherever they are constructed, they have not been occupied because government was providing money. So they have constructed some houses, but many of them are still not occupied, and they are just like ghost towns. And they can be a well, best example of how the implementation has failed for a good design policy. So they are still standing on the ground, many of this colony for years together. And they would be example of how administration, as an administration, we have failed in properly implementing a very good policy. The policy nobody can find fault, but yes, implementation was wrong. So this is another example I would say wherein implementation has failed while policy was really good. Another example I would say, I would give you three examples, and then I again give you three examples of where implementation was good, so policy was also really good. Another example was a food for work program. So it is like just to do like a Nariga program now, which has been replaced as G Ramji now. So there, so people would get food grains. At that time in early 2000, it was done. We were in the districts when this food for work program came. So idea was the people who are unemployed, they can come. It was a drought situation. So government came up with a policy and food grains were there. So a lot of food grains were there in FCI and all. It was a record production in the previous year. So food grains were there in the godowns. So government said instead of paying wages, we will give food grains for the work done. So the program was named as Food for Work Program. So it started very well. So works were identified. But then ultimately, as I said, so policy was very good. You provide food grains for the people. So people have the food, they get the work, and some assets are built. But in reality, what happened? Ultimately, in some of the areas, again, I would say, I would not qualify that all the places this has happened, but as I said, it all depends on policy and implementation. So wherever implementation was not good, what happened was uh, that this food for work program. So people said anyway, now because for each day of work, they used to get 5 kgs of rice and wheat was given. So in some areas, wherever wheat was given, like in South, people do not eat the wheat. So they eat mostly rice, but because it was there in the godown, we had provided wheat also. But even if rice was there, ultimately, how much rice a person would consume in a month? So family of 4, almost 2 people are working or 3 people are working. So they got about 100 to 150 kgs of food for this bags of kgs of rice. Now their consumption is very limited in a family. How much? Ultimately 15 to 20 kgs maximum would be taken in a month. So when this became more, but because the government was giving, so they took it. Now, so now what to do with this rice now? So there are no takers. So then ultimately you must have read in, I think, in some magazines also. So then ultimately what happened? So some again the middlemen came, agents came. They said, okay, you have this rice. Therefore, we will give it to the mills. We know the millets procure the paddy from the farmers. They mill it and sell the rice to FCI, Food Corporation of India. So in this case, the agents came. They purchased this rice from the people at some discounted value and then gave it to the millets. Millets did some polishing and all, and then gave it back to the FCI, from where we were getting this food for work program. So entire cycle was completed. So from Food Corporation of India, it came to the fair price shop dealers. From the dealers, it went to the people who were doing this food for work program. They sold the rice back to the millets. From the millets, it again back to FCI. So this entire chain was completed. Entire rice was misused. Of course, some infrastructure was created, some cement roads were taken up and all. But then ultimately, I mean, the basic program of food for work was objective was never fulfilled. So this was another example of where policy is very good, but implementation failed. So this I have spoken about the three examples. One is the fee reimbursement scheme. Other is the housing for all program. Third is the food for work program, wherein policy nobody can find fault. But in implementation, in some places where these precautions were not taken, the middleman came, the extraneous factors came, they twisted the policy, took the policy for their advantage during implementation and benefit, and the entire objective of the government was lost, and public money went into drain. So this is one live example. These are all practical experience I am talking. Now I would mention about 2, 3 examples wherein a well-designed policy, if implemented properly, can deliver much more than what was anticipated from the policy itself. And the best example of that which comes to my mind is the DWACRA program. We had this development of women and children in rural areas implemented by Ministry of Rural Development program. It was there since 1995 and it is continuing now also in different names. Names have undergone a change with the change of the governments. but of course the objective remains the same. So basically the women were encouraged to form into self-help groups. So idea was the rural poor women would form into groups of 10 to 15, and they would start saving some money, open a bank account and save some money. And when they save certain corpus, the matching grant revolving fund is given from the government side. At that time, if I remember correctly, in late 90s, it was 15,000 rupees a group which we used to give. 15,000 rupees at that time was quite a big amount. So they would save about 5,000, 7,000 after 6 months of saving and all, and we would give this matching grant. So, I mean, whole objective was that rural poor women require money for consumption purposes. So some small family needs are there, medical emergency come, education of children comes. And so this consumption loans, we all know the bankers do not give. Bankers give mostly for income generating activities, and approaching a bank is not that easy for an individual. Therefore, they fall into the trap of the money lenders. They would go to the money lenders for various loans, and they would charge exorbitant rates, 24% rates, 36% rates, and they would fall into a debt trap. So here was an opportunity ki, okay, you form into a group, save some money, and then plus this matching loan would be given. So with that corpus, you can give a small loans to your members. And once the members repay with a nominal interest, again it can be given. So that objective it started. So we started this movement all over the country. It started in Andhra Pradesh. It was very successful. You must have heard about anti-erect movement also in Andhra. It happened, anti-erect movement during 90s. It happened where the women groups took on the liquor, and they made the government to announce prohibition was announced, because they said our homes are getting damaged because of the liquor policy of the state government. So ultimately that is one issue. But then so this money was given to them. So whole idea is, okay, this money was given and all, so that's okay. But see, implementation, what happened actually, it beyond much beyond the policy objectives. So women, when they started meeting, they started saving 1 rupee a day. It started. So 15 women, 15 rupees a day. In a month, it comes 450 rupees. In a year, becomes 5,400 rupees. Then this 15,000 comes. So what they did is, with this 20,000, they gave loan to some needy members, 3-4 members. They gave a loan of 4,000, 5,000. And the best part, because of the best part was, because of the peer group pressure, the repayments were very good. I mean, generally, why the bankers do not offer individual loans, consumption loans, is repayments are not there. NPs are very high. Lot of documentation is there. Paperwork is the same. But here it was no paperwork. It was a women. It was mutual understanding, peer group pressure. So repayments were almost 100% to begin with. Now also there are more than 95% repayments. So they started repaying, and then the money started coming. And then not only that, then what happened when they started meeting women? So they used to meet once in 15 days to discuss whom to give loan, whether the repayment has come or not. So apart from this, they also started discussing the other matters. Started discussing the education of their children, the literacy, the health. Then governments saw, look, it is an opportunity. We have these self-help groups, and we were not able to give the government services to each individual. But here in a village now, so groups of 15 to 30 women were also there. So 30 women at a place. So we made the government employees at the field level, basically be it the Anganwadi worker or be it the ANM, auxiliary nurse come midwife. So we said, now you go and participate in these meetings. So the village level functionaries, they started attending this meeting. So Anganwadi worker would tell about nutritious food, about the pregnancy, about the schemes of the government, what are the benefits of the schemes. She would explain to the people. Similarly, ANM would talk about health and all. School teachers also started attending, telling about the performance of their students and all. So it went much beyond the economics. Economic was of course there. Then realizing this, what happened? The bankers saw it as an opportunity. They said, look, here we are. They saw the books and all. They said, whatever loans are being given, almost 100% recovery. So the bankers came forward. We said, okay, we will give you loans now. So we don't give it to the individual, we will give it to the group. So they started with modest amounts of 15,000, 30,000 rupees. And later on, it went up to 1 lakh, 2 lakhs. And today, you'll be surprised, almost 20 lakh loans are being given without any security by the bankers to these groups. So with the result, what happened? Now the women, they saw financial independence, money came into their hands, they started sending their children to school, they became more confident. Some of them started maintaining books and all. Then within 4 or 5 years, these federations started emerging. So we had earlier one groups, then all groups at the village level, they formed a federation. All groups at the block level federation, then at the district level federation and the state level federation. And they started banks also. Under the Mutually Aided Cooperative Societies Act, even banks were started. So they have so much of money. And today, I would say in Andhra Pradesh alone, I don't have the numbers right now, but it's thousands of crores of the corpus which is available with the women now in last 20 years. I think this I would rate it as one of the best success stories of how if the social mobilization is done, women are involved, there are no vested interest, no middlemen, no leakage of funds, money is given to the people, people are educated, and then particularly because they were women also, definitely I think the scheme was successful because the repayments and all were really good. And today we have taken it to a very different level. What we started was 15,000 rupees per group, and today, after 20 years, it is thousands of crores of corpus with women. Women are running now marts, the village marts they are running, fair price shops they are running. They have started so many centers. I mean, other activities also, retail they have entered. So like this, it has gone much beyond the dairies. Some of them have established dairies they have started. Some of them have purchased tractors from the money. So groups has so much of money, they have purchased tractors and other agricultural machinery. They have started lending it out to other farmers and all. So I would say, I mean, it has totally what was intended and what was implemented. Implementation went far more than what was intended. Not only economic benefits, social benefits, so self-help group movement in country in general, and Andhra Pradesh in particular. You can Google it also. Chat GPT, of course, is always there, so it will give you all information. So how it became successful. So this is, I would say, the best example of how a policy is implemented properly. It can deliver much more than what was intention itself. Other scheme which I would say has been successful, okay, not to this extent, but yes, it has met its objective very well, was the individual sanitary latrines as part of the Swachh Bharat mission, what was launched here. So basically, this was a very, very good scheme. As we know, in India earlier, I mean, many of the people used to go to answer the nature's call. They used to go outside. Many of them had no toilets. But within 3 to 4 years, when money was given, so they had constructed toilets. Toilets are being put to use. They are being maintained properly. So not big amount was given. Only 12,000 rupees per individual sanitary latrines were given, but proper designs were there, and it was by the house only, it was sanctioned. So somehow the scheme also became very popular and it met the objective because it was implemented properly. So this was another scheme, I would say, which was a huge success for which it was designed. So here we have examples. There are other examples as well. I mean, though on a smaller scale, many of the schemes, as you know, in general, what we can say is schemes 99%, unless it is by a malified intention, which rarely happens. Most of the schemes, when the government designs, intent is always very good, noble intent only, the schemes are designed. But then how it is implemented at the field level, that is what is most important. If it is implemented properly, honestly, and then scheme, the design of the scheme also. See, policy, when we say the policy is overall a broad framework, but then after policy, we issue detailed guidelines. So I think catch is the detailed guidelines. Policy would spell overall objective, like housing for all. So policy would say every house should be provided to every poor family. But then what are the guidelines? How the beneficiary should be selected, how the land should be selected, whether the unit cost is sufficient to build the house or not, what kind of construction material should be utilized, is what is more important. So I think when we formulate the policy, and so number one, for it to be successful, definitely the feedback is what is more important. If we design the policy sitting in the four walls of the room of the state secretariat, then definitely it is going to be a failure. But if proper feedback is taken from the people who are at the ground level, and always that's why we always say कि before bringing out any policy and all, first test it, have a pilot study, do it as a pilot, do it in one block, do it in one district, see how it is being implemented, or if any other state has done it, go and study that, and then you bring out a policy. Otherwise, if we do it with just our noble intention, but with no connect to the ground, so what I mentioned in earlier 2 3 cases, it can horribly go wrong. So I would say topic has been very good, because all throughout we struggle. I mean, we always say ki, while policy has been there, it is the implementation which fails, and then as it happens, it is the bureaucrats like us or like future bureaucrats like you who will be blamed, because the politicians always say कि our job is to design the policy, for implementation you people are there, so because you have not implemented properly, the policy has failed and I have lost power because of that. That is the usual complaint, but that is for some other day. So this, I think, is a very good topic. So I wish all of you the very best. Now I think if you have any questions or any clarifications, I'm open to that. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. The policies which you mentioned were actually very interesting, and that was very important and relevant. And yeah, anyone who wants to ask a question, just raise your hands. We can unmute you and you can ask your questions. And so we are actually also live on YouTube. So I have some questions from there. I'll also ask those for you.
Okay.
Yeah, we have Swarnima. Swarnima, you can ask your question.
A very good evening, sir. Thank you for such an insightful session. So I want to ask so that for future civil servants, what mindset is more important? Like for effective implementation, strict rule following, or empathetic problem solving?
Yeah, no. Swarnima, I would say, see, it is the empathetic problem solving which would be more important, because, see, ultimately, I mean, as civil servants, we are always working for the public, very close to the public. So once you understand their pulse, once you understand their issues, their problems, I think that is what is more important. Now, rules and all, see, I mean, of course, it requires another session to say, but see, rules are ultimately framed by us only, rules are framed by the government. But ultimate objective is to help the people, to help the society for whom we are working. So I think it is the civil servant who understand the people's pulse, who understand the issues, goes to the field, takes their feedback, is open to suggestions and ideas. See, what I find is in many of the civil servants, in some, I would not say many, I mean, some of the civil servants, after a period of time, a sense of complacency starts coming in, ki like, I know everything. So we stop listening to the people, stop taking advice. And then our subordinates also, what I have seen is, I mean, they would say just what we want to listen, in case we do not encourage them to take a divergent opinion. So I think if we are open, give lots of room for people to raise their voice, listen to everybody, then I think we should be definitely successful. So I would, to answer your question, I would say more than the rules or anything else. So what matters is ultimately whether you are sympathetic to the people's cause, you understand their issues, concerns, and then you visit the field and you are able to solve their problem effectively or not. I think that is what is more important.
Okay, thank you, sir. Sir, I have one more question, if you allow.
Yeah.
Sir, what do you think? Is India facing a policy fatigue problem, like where too many schemes exist but administration capacity to implement there is limited? And how should this be addressed?
No, see, I think no. As you, I would like to say, see, I mean, policies are being uh, coming now. So there is no, I mean, I would say that there is a gap in the policies, or there are overload of policies, administrative capacity is not there. That is also there. I think what really requires is right implementation of the policies. And then ultimately the policy should be understood by all the players, all the stakeholders. See, when the government releases a policy, ultimately it is approved by the cabinet. Now, cabinet is what? They are the highest in the government is the cabinet, whether it is a union cabinet or the state cabinet. They they are the people who come amongst the MLAs or MPs only. But then what we find at the field level is many times, while the cabinet frames the policy, the local public representatives, the MLAs or the MPs or other public representatives, they themselves oppose the policy because it is not suited for their convenience. So I think what is required is if there is a genuine interest, like live example which I have taken, wherein they either support or they do not interfere. The public representatives, similarly the officials also, including the machinery at the grassroots level, if they wholeheartedly implement it, then I think there should not be an issue. So definitely India has lot of talent is available with India, and there is no question of administrative capabilities are not there. What is required is the basically, I mean, the right people should be there and they should be given the freedom to act. Many times we have a very good district collector or a district magistrate is there, but he's not allowed to do by the same public representatives for implementing the policy which has been decided by the state cabinet only. So policy will be noble, but implementation. So if all people support, we have successful examples also, wherein if the local politicians and local administrative machinery cooperates, see, that is why we find same policies there for a central scheme. One state does really well, other state miserably fails. Similarly, at the state level, one district performs very well, other district fails. Within the district, it is one block or another block. So while the policy is the same, so really we cannot blame the policy makers or we cannot blame the policy. What ultimately is decided, the deciding factor is the proper implementation, for which, of course, I mean, who implements it is the humans who are implementing. So the people who are in charge of implementation, whether at the field level, I think that is crucial. And then, of course, the local political support and entire the system has ecosystem has to be supported. Yeah, Rishita,
Thank you so much,
anybody
sir.
else?
Yes, sir. We have Diksha next for the question.
Yeah,
Good
can you
evening,
just
sir.
also introduce yourself so that I know
Yeah.
where are you studying and which I mean which college or something like that?
Yes,
Yeah, Diksha.
sir,
Yeah.
I'm a art student. Good evening, sir. I'm an art student pursuing BA from Rajasthan University. Currently,
Okay.
I'm in my second year.
You are based out of Jaipur.
Sir, I wanted to. Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah.
Actually, I'm from Sambhar Lake.
Okay. Okay. Yeah,
Sir, I
please go
want
ahead.
to ask when the first instance you realized
Your
into
voice is
IAS was
breaking.
worth it, other. Hello.
Rishita, her voice is breaking.
Yes, Diksha, I guess you don't have a stable internet connection. Can you repeat your question once?
Okay. So when was the first instance when you realized that getting into the administrative services was worth it, other than the materialistic glory that we are seeing from the outside?
When did I first realize that it was worth it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay, ठीक है. So that of course is a personal question, but I would answer. See, basically, as I said, see, okay, materialistic and all is different, but then see, ultimate real satisfaction. I will give just one is small example. It's a personal question, so I'll also answer it very honestly. See, maximum satisfaction you get is when you are at the field level. So because field level, you are able to make direct impact into the lives of the people and all. So I would say when I said when we were, I was collector of Rangareddy district, which is adjoining Hyderabad. So I mean, now you must have seen that Rangareddy district has become the richest district in the country. I mean, with so much of IT and all, it is happening. So that's why. But then it was adjoining Hyderabad. So I mean, core Hyderabad was Hyderabad, and outskirts of Hyderabad was Rangareddy district. So when because we used to stay in Hyderabad, and Hyderabad, as you know, is a metropolitan city. Districts, of course, is a different DM. Everybody recognizes, but we used to stay in Hyderabad. But then we used to my district was Rangareddy. So then when we were staying there, so one day I was going to a restaurant with my wife, evening dinner we were going. So some works of the municipal corporation Hyderabad works were going on, and some 50 people were working. It was late night, 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock. So they were working for laying the water pipeline and all. So then those about 10-15 people came to me and they said, and they started saying, sir, we recognize you. You are working as our collector. So you have sanctioned a road to us in one program, and then we really benefited in that village, and that some help was given by them in official capacity only. So I think that was the moment when I felt true satisfaction ki look, I mean, I don't know them also, I have not know, but even then the poor people are realizing what difference we have made. And so in the districts, I think the real satisfaction comes, and even today, to be honest with you, not only with me, I'm not self-praising myself, many of us, it happens. Those who have worked for a longer time in any of the district, 2-3 years, even after 20 years, if you go, you will find somebody in those village and all who will always recognize you. Maybe a sarpanch, that sarpanch might become an MLA after 20 years. He could be your boss by minister also, he can become. But there would be somebody who always recognizes you and thanks you for the good work. So I think that was the period when I realized ki yes, I mean, it is definitely worth it because we have been able to make a change in the lives of the people. So particularly at the district level, the first 10 years of your service, I mean, it's the real satisfaction because you are working. Then, of course, policy level and all. So then you make policies, you make industrial policy. So industrial policy would give you many of the industries come, like I'm handling tourism now. So we made a tourism policy. So almost some suppose if some 30 hotels come up because of our efforts and all, it gives you satisfaction, definitely. But then that is a satisfaction. But when you see, yes, I mean, tears in the eyes of a poor person thanking you and all, that is something which even, I mean, I think even if you have lots of money or lots of power, that much of satisfaction would not be there. So I think that was the time when I realized, ki, yes, definitely it is worth it. And I'm sure it must be the experience with almost 80 to 90% of our colleagues also.
Thank you, sir.
So that was a great experience shared that you have shared. So now we have two people. Dipanshu, you have to open your camera actually to ask the question. So please switch on your camera. Yes, you can ask your question.
Hello, sir.
Yeah,
Good
Dipanshu,
afternoon,
please
sir.
tell.
I am Dipanshu Raj, a first year BSc Statistics student from Hindu College, Delhi University.
Okay.
Sir, first of all, I would like to thank you for the insightful session that you have given us today. My question is, sir, regarding the ghost towns, like in the
Yeah.
housing program. What specific policy would have safeguarded and prevented the middleman from influencing the land selection so far from the workplaces?
Yes, exactly. And a very good question. In fact, I mean, government afterwards appointed a committee, also a group of ministers was appointed to look into what actually went wrong, what can be done. Now, see, so basically the whole issue is, see, because another problem is, see, while policies are good, it was very less time was given because of obviously political compulsions and all. So the then chief minister, he wanted entire program to be done in 2 months' time so that on a particular day he can announce, he can give the house set. So there was no time for the district collectors or senior officers to visit the land personally and select. It was left to the whims and fancies of the local officials like Tehsildar, who are definitely vulnerable to the local pressures of the MLAs or the local politicians. So I think specific guidelines should have been uh, given as to what is the kind of the land which is selected, and then it should be at such particular distance. It should not require any infrastructure. It should have proper connectivity should have been there. And then for the value of the lands, particularly in bigger towns and all, it should have been done by personal inspection of the district collectors, the DM or the ADM, and senior officers of the state level should have randomly selected 5 or 10% before payment of compensation to see the suitability of the land. Now, of course, IT tools are there. We could have taken the drone videos of the lands, put them on the net, and what land we are going to select before paying the compensation should have been put in the public domain. It could have been put in the website. Time should have been given for the people, those who are the beneficiaries, whether they are willing to go there or not. That is one question which would have solved most of the problems. I mean, we should have told that, look, this is the land which has been tentatively identified for you, and the beneficiary, we should have taken them one day, and when they would have gone 40 kilometers without any road, they would have said no. So straight away, it was not that what could not have been prevented. But then, as I said, for any policy to be implemented properly, that's one point which I missed out, is that you need to give proper time limits. Proper time has to be given to the people to implement the policy. If we come out with a policy and we say within 30 days, all my house set distribution program I have fixed, I am giving you 30 days, then what will the any officer do? He would have to leave it to and those who were not able to achieve the targets, so their explanation was called for, and all they were humiliated in the video conferences and meetings as to why you have been not able to achieve the targets. Therefore, they would also go by what others are doing. Let the field people do. So there was a sort of a negligence. So I think definitely, I mean, if proper time was given, proper checks and balances should have been there, scrutiny by the district officers, and then some random selection, random inspection by the state level officers, use of technology, the drone videos, the consent of the beneficiaries. Had it been taken, this problem would not have arisen. And it came in those districts where there was a lot of pressure for the lands. In the districts where there was not that much of pressure, where the land values are generally low, there very good lands were selected, and the program has been a huge success. So I think with those safeguards, definitely it could have been done. But the point I missed is, for any policy to be successful, you have to give a reasonable time limit has to be given. You cannot expect results overnight. If you do not give proper time, definitely things are likely to go wrong.
So, sir, I guess the time is also up and we don't have any more questions. So we'll just have a vote of thanks. I asked Shubhi, please give the vote of thanks. Yes.
Thank you, sir. On the behalf of Sankalp, I sincerely thank you for the insightful session on policy versus ground reality, why implementation decides everything. Your explanation of the gap between policy intent and the real outcome help us understand why implementation is the real test of governance. The example you shared made the challenges of execution clear and realistic for every aspirant here. This session encourages us to look beyond the ideal policies and think about the practical realities, administrative capacity, and the accountability on the ground. Thank you once again, sir, for sharing your valuable insight with us. And thank you to the audience also for your active participation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.